Hello, Rene. How are you?
Hello, Macarena. Very well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Very safe and well also with my family. I'm very happy to
Yeah.
have you here today in Septet Talks. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Yeah, it's a big honor, of course, to talk to you. Yeah, I'm very happy to.
Thank you, Rene. If you may, I will start reading your biography so the audience know more about your career and background, if you agree.
Yeah.
So Rene Berndt, Associate Principal at Mahlum, has 28 years of architectural experience and extensive knowledge of learning environments. Rene has presented and discussed his research about the impact of the physical environment on the process of learning at conferences and workshops, both locally and internationally. His work has been featured in numerous design publications, including Architectural Record, and has been recognized with diverse regional, national, and international design awards. Rene most recently studied how the perception of feeling well and safe at school differs between the learner, educator, and parent. At the end, the design of the award-winning Lacamas Lake Elementary School in the Camas School District. Rene also has been a member of the ICA Board of Directors since 2019, and is co-author of the new ICA guidebook, Septet in Schools, A Comprehensive Approach, which will be published this year. Wow, this is a great news, Rene.
Yeah, it is fantastic. It took us a long time to get to the point, but we're very close now. Yeah.
I know. It was a beautiful process, a team building process also. I want to start with the obvious question, Rene. When did you hear about Septet the first time? Can you tell us the story, please?
Yeah, it was actually interesting enough. By accident, I stumbled upon it by reading actually one of my favorite books, the life and the death and life of the great American cities. And she being one
Yeah.
of the original thinkers of Septet. And so I just understood, I felt very close to her way of thinking and approaching urban context and her observations, because they were very humane observations. They were not really even scientific. She just discovered, a theory, or built a theory around how she saw people engaging with each other on a normal neighborhood street, and why that worked on some streets, and some streets were actually good streets where kids could play on the street and were safe, and other streets where this kind of social system broke down and there was suddenly more crime and there were more social problems. So I'm always fascinated by the role the physical environment, as an architect, plays in everyday life, and how it makes us feel different, And so it was really drawn to her theories. And then also, so that was just like her, and then I didn't associate originally her directly with Septet. Later on, I found out that she was actually one of the original thinkers, who started the process. But my dear colleague and friend Jeremy Weir, actually, who unfortunately was a kind of a sad event, but he worked with a local college in Southern Oregon, and there had been one of the shootings, that we have periodically in the US and maybe all over the world. And so he was asked to, design a new building and working with the community who were still in shock, and so he definitely shared with me, we talked a lot about safety security within our firm, but that is a big goal and concern for all of our projects. And we started discussing kind of Septet in more detail, I would say. And then actually that sparked a curiosity for me to understand, you mentioned in my biography, what is the different perception for users of our school buildings? Because feeling safe could feel or be totally different for a student and a teacher and a parent, because they all use the school in different ways. For the teacher, it's a workplace. They want to go to school and make sure they come, home safe again, without any harm. For them, that they have different concerns. The student just wants to basically have hopefully a fun, lively day, and by the way, on the side, learns a lot about things that are useful in life. And parents come to the school because they actually trust the school. Um, you know. To provide a safe environment, they entrust their children in the care of the school. So they come there with a critical eye and say, okay, can I really, have a quiet day today and not worry about my children being in this building? Are they being safe? And so it was really interesting to see the different ideas. And for example, what I like about Septet is that it focuses more on the passive strategies, how you without knowing that you're doing something to create a safe environment, actually you're making it safer. And that really spoke to the students, because anybody in the survey responded very negatively to these obvious safety measures like metal detectors or searching somebody and big fences and all this. That really, and that's what I experienced, I think we all experience, this creates more like a level of fear, So anyway, students were really more interested in a scale, having a welcoming, scaled environment where they felt, the building responds to their size. And easy wayfinding was really important, not being feeling you're entering this labyrinth of hallways. You really see straight ahead where you're going. As always, you walk towards light and a friendly area within the school. Good orientation makes people less nervous. They don't feel lost in buildings. And interesting for teachers and parents, it was having a friendly face greeting you at the entry. It was the most important thing. Number one was, having somebody to recognize you actually entering the building. Again, nothing makes you more worried as a parent when you're in a school and nobody has even noticed you're there. Huh? You're 20 minutes walking around and nobody even knows you're there. So that was really fascinating. So that maybe made me then realize to dive deeper into the Septet strategies and explore this further. Yeah.
Yeah, and I share with you the common opinion, the common idea. Also, I am very fan of Jane Jacobs' book and work, because she wrote so many books. But the Death and Life of Great American Cities is an incredible book. So simple also. She talks very deep and relevant information in a very simple way. So
it was very accessible.
Very easy to understand for everybody. So we are very fun together. And also I appreciate much what you said about the fear perception in school environments. Is something so relevant to take on account in, for example, a school safety plan. In that sense, Rene, do you think Septet add value to your professional career?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with the focus on the passive, more kind of humane strategies, I would say, because what happens when you design schools? Well, also a reason why I got interested was that I noticed that some districts were responding to these horrific events, like we have a school shooting, maybe once or twice a year. It makes the press. Everybody's reacting to that, and we also ask as designers how to react to that. And some of the proposed solutions really got in the way of creating a perfect learning environment, because we have we have learned a lot actually since neuroscience has made many of these theories more accessible. So basically we can confirm now how we learn, how our brain functions. And so we can actually manipulate the environment to create a perfect environment for learning, which is exciting, it's open, provides transparency, visible connections, and all these things. And suddenly there was a threat of responding to maybe an intruder. It was mostly, we actually broke down, I can talk about that later, but maybe safety at schools in different categories. But most of the responses eyewitnesses were about an external intruder, and how can we basically creating like a fortress or something, and then be creating hallways with no windows, everybody can hide in the classroom, which is exactly the opposite from designing an effective learning environment where you want to allow students to be the owner of the school. Like a student walking down a hallway, when we provided enough glass and transparency, they will always feel connected to the rest of the school community. So we're trying to address the other threat categories, which we identify as internal threats, which is bullying and vandalism. Then self-harm is a big topic. Unfortunately, with the rise of social media, we have seen a huge increase in student suicide and even drug use and all that. Then there are environmental threats that come from the environment. Some of our schools are decaying, and or there's lead in pipes. Students can't drink the water because there's toxic material in the water, and all these, and then the physical, and then threats to property. Yeah, also like that the property may be being attacked. So anyway, so that was why I see Septet strategies are so relevant, because they can work within the criteria for designing still an effective learning environment. I would say that, yeah.
Completely agree with you, Rene. And I want to highlight what you said about the schools being designed as fortress. In my region, in the Hispanic region, we have so many violence problems in boroughs and in communities, with also shootings, with drugs dealers. So I see so many schools built as a fortress. So do you think with your work, with the work using Septet, we are shifting the paradigm?
Yes, I
Completely
do.
the opposite?
I do hope so, because I mean, Septet, in my mind, it's all about people. And it was interesting. I was asked to write that little article for our newsletter, and the situation in our cities now, with everybody being locked in, kind of, we're losing the people on the streets. And that was a big lesson from Jane Jacobs. Street with people and eyes on them, and that activated is a safer street. And so I think, again, for our neighborhoods, for schools to become centers of community, so we want actually the schools, it's a big investment anyway. And so you want to use this throughout the day and night. So you want to have activities, maybe in the gymnasium, maybe a play in the cafeteria. And the more you can connect to school, the more you don't have a fortress, but it's just part of the fabric of the community, the more actually the safer the building becomes. So again, open up, and really melting with the community, being part of the community. I think, again, the Septet strategies we're discussing at ICA, especially, I think they will help facilitate that. And it's so hard to get over the first hurdle of the fear, because you have real crime, there are real threats outside the door, and it takes actually for the neighborhoods to be addressed first, the crime in the neighborhood, because you have to bring down the threshold, because you can't just say, okay, we're open now and bullets are flying everywhere. You have to make sure that, first the neighborhood is calmed down, and then there's a tipping point after which then school buildings also can be reimagined more as community centers, as well.
Yeah, you are okay. I agree completely. I have another question, Rene, regarding the work you are doing together with the other members of the school committee of ICA. You just mentioned you will launch very soon this year the Safe School guideline from the ICA School Committee. Can you explain us a little about the committee and this guideline?
Yeah, that was actually a very exciting process, because again, through my friend Jeremy Weir, we actually submitted a proposal, to speak at the Cancun ICA conference in 2019. Seems like a long time ago now. And as part of that, we became part of a group which was already ongoing, I think, within the ICA, like the school committee, Septet and school committee. And what was really exciting for me, because this committee or the members brought a totally new dimension to the problem or to the solutions, because until then I've been focusing solely on the physical environment, and that's where I come from, that's where I work, and I changed the physical world around us to make a better world. But there were members in the committee who actually started to manipulate the social environment and look into the psycho-emotional environment of students. And there was like a Fleur Knight from New Zealand. She worked in the social environment. She had a lot of experience with working with her class of students, where she introduced Septet principles and created a really strong social cohesion with students working within the Septet guidelines there. And then also Carlos, for example, and kind of a woman in professor in Spain, they had looked into the psycho-emotional environment and really did a lot of research how the mindset of each student can have an impact on levels of aggression and whatnot. So again, we're calling this approach the comprehensive approach, because we are now drawing from all three dimensions of human existence, from the physical environment, the social environment, and the psycho-emotional environment. And together we feel this is a pathway to really create long-lasting, meaningful change. Because if you only work in one of the three, it's not sustainable, really. It may be interesting for a while. You maybe reduce certain aspects of bad behavior in schools for a while, but really long-lasting change and really having an impact on actually on the students, on the learners in these buildings, on the parents, on the teachers, by applying all three. That's why we are so excited about this approach. And I have not seen anybody else looking at it, and through this lens, or the three lenses, I should say. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a very interesting approach, the comprehensive approach. And do you think it's como just the same time or the perfect time for this approach regarding the COVID crisis? Because the world is changing, the school environment is changing. The most of the time this year, the past year, sorry, children use the laptops, the computers, the iPhones to connect with the school. So do you think it was the perfect time to change the paradigm?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it is, because I think when we all come back, we come back to a different model. I think everybody understands it won't be whatever was pre-COVID. It will be a different approach to learning, and we're also dealing now with the issues with, like, the social isolation has is taking a big toll on the students, on parents as well. Being locked up in your room, all the social interactions are only mostly virtual, unless you have siblings. Lucky you have siblings, but if you don't, then you really are, basically have play dates online and all this. So, and also, again, the psycho-emotional effect of the isolation. Again, I think we have a lot more in a way to repair. There's a whole generation now for whom they entered the school system and for whom this is what they know. They don't even know a school that worked before COVID, how that actually all happened. So I think it's a perfect time. Everybody has taken a step back and they're evaluating how we come back, and what we have to do. And again, some of these aspects we have to do slowly because of the restrictions we're still under. But I think it's definitely it's a good time to rethink safety and security, and also how we learn and grow as humans. Yeah.
That's true, Rene. And do you think the guidelines are very needed to spread the word in a more global scale? What is the purpose of these guidelines?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That was also exciting for me when I was nominated to the board of directors of ICA, being a global organization, because I grew up in Germany, so I had a European mindset maybe. Then I moved to the United States, where I always wanted to be, and now have this North American mindset. But now putting on this global mindset and understanding from colleagues across the world, the problems are sometimes they're very similar in India, Australia, or Asia somewhere, or Africa, South Africa. We have colleagues from all over, but sometimes they're really different and specific. And we do feel that since these three dimensions apply to all humans, regardless, they go back to how we see the world, millions of years ago. This is all genetically embedded information, and so we are working in this dimension, and we feel this definitely has a global application because it strips all the other items away, because it goes to the core of who we are as humans and which parts again of our environment are important for us. And it will always be the physical world, the social, and the psycho-emotional as well. So yes, we feel there's a big global relevance. Yeah.
You mentioned that you are currently ICA director. You are part of the board of ICA. Can you explain to the audience which are the benefits to being an active member of ICA in that sense?
Yeah, the two benefits. One is the exposure. Just for me, the eye-opening, understanding the problems of the world now, because people I know, I meet, on a regular basis, telling me about what's going on. I don't have to read the paper or whatever, or go online and research, because all this is really consolidated, and we're bringing all these perspectives together. And again, then also reaching out, so it's like taking in global perspective, but giving back in a way with our approach now with these guidebooks. There's other guidebooks about safety in cities. We had strategies of how to deal with social unrest. We're trying to, I think, address global issues and solving them in a much more comprehensive way. And I know that also then the influence of ICA, I know there's members who have connections to the European Union. And so being able to maybe influence policy, because it is a global organization and working maybe with the UN or other global organizations, I think this kind of networking level is super exciting to me, because again, as an individual, just as an individual architect, I don't have these opportunities by myself.
And
But within
also next year, this year we have birthday as ICA, because we will have 25 years.
Wow, yeah,
we were
25 years.
founded.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Yeah, we have to celebrate big.
Yeah. Of course. So in 25 years of practice, experience, exchange of knowledge, we have already much evidence of what works and what doesn't regarding Septet methodology. So it's very, very relevant, the work of ICA in a global scale. And of course, the work that you are doing, Rene, and all board members is something very, very valuable.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, just when you shared the stories how you built up Septet South America, in Chile from the beginning. I mean, that's amazing how little it takes. It just takes a couple of people who really want to create change, and then it becomes a movement that is now. Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic in Mexico and Cancun to see all the members from the South American delegation coming together and sharing the insight. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's true. It's step by step, baby steps, but then
Yeah.
at the end, it's a movement. It's
exactly.
a global movement. Yeah, you're right. And as final remarks, do you want to highlight some ideas, Rene, for the audience?
Yes, well, there's again, it's maybe more a specific issue now in the US, because I just want to talk about the perception of Septet today. We are struggling within the US right now, because there are some voices in the communities who think, oh, Septet is kind of creating racial divisions and all this. And yeah, I would like to address this, because I think since the Septet strategy is applied to all people, and we're trying to create safe environments for all people, that this is really the furthest from our thinking. We want to bring everybody together again, bringing people, out on the street again, allowing them to enjoy our urban environments again, and bringing us all together. That is the idea of Septet, and doing it in a very passive, way, and through manipulation of the environment and social cohesion, and these strategies that really should bring us together. So I just want to make a point of saying that, because there are some voices, I think it's mainly only in the US right now, but who accusing us of, creating divisions. And maybe a misunderstanding of Septet. I think, the ICA's mission of, I think you, in your clarifications on our website, I think was very helpful to understand what Septet actually stands for, our code of ethics, because many people, I think, use the term, but they're not really, part of this organization, and they don't believe it in the same way. There's some other interpretations out there. And I think it's important for ICA to make sure that the true version of Septet, comes across, and we're promoting that. Yeah.
Yes, and just to add to your relevant clarification point, is that Septet is a living methodology that is evolving. Yeah. We started with Septet first generation, then second generation, that is so inclusive, considers this citizens' participation, and we are just starting the Septet third generation. So it's a living methodology, and it's a very positive methodology, very human-based methodology, and we want to invite all people from the audience to join ICA and to be part of this big Septet family.
Yeah, exactly, correct. Wonderful said.
So thank you, Rene, for your time, your experience, your incredible thoughts about Septet, fear perception, the school environment. Good luck with the launch of the Septet school guide.
Great. Yeah, we're looking forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk.
And stay safe, Rene. Bye-bye.
Okay. Goodbye.